Alright, what's up, guys? Hey, today we're going to go over a Wolcen 1.0.5 Lightning Mage build. This is the first build that I've ever done and actually posted on YouTube, so be gentle, but please do put comments in there on what you see that can be improved. The only thing I ask is that you, instead of criticizing, actually put stuff in there that's going to be helpful and help me be better for when I post future builds. With that said, let's go ahead and get started on what we got going. I'm going to bring up the skill tree first. So in the skill tree, we started with Soldier. We went through Ferocity and Critical Hit, down to more critical hit. The more critical hit, the more damage we can do. The general idea in all the different stuff that we did with the skill tree was that we were trying to find the best way to make the tree work for the tune, because it's not a super heavy damage tune, but it is a really tanky support tune. It can run solo a little bit. Adept Bet 1 and 2 is what I've pushed it to so far. I haven't, when we get to the gear, you'll see that the gear isn't really great, and I haven't done a lot with pushing it really far yet, but I wanted to get this build out. So as we went down through Ferocity, we went down through Soldier, we went to Warlock, came to 10 spell, so we could have better spell damage. Went to Witchcraft Adept. 100% spell crit chance score while willpower is above 75%. This is a big one for us because everything we do is spelled. 8 life leech, help us gain back some life from every bit of spell damage that we do. The end result from what we were trying to do here, we were trying to race down and go as fast as we could to Retaliator, which is the biggest part of this whole build. And right now it seems to be the biggest part of pretty much every build. Retaliator gives you 3% damage per physical resistance stored. So every bit of toughness that you can stack is huge, because toughness goes to all your resistances. And since we're trying to do physical, toughness stacks are physical on this one. So we ran around the outside, got some health generation, some more health generation, until we got to Retaliator, which was the goal, to try and get it into the build. Swiftness for attack speed. You got to be careful with the attack speed. You get too much attack speed, you burn up your willpower too fast, and you're constantly converting rage back into willpower. I will recommend that you keep a willpower and a health potion on your tune while you're playing, because there will be times where you just can't develop it back fast enough. And I'll show you when I do a little bit of the gameplay, you'll see what I'm talking about. More critical hit damage. That's good for us. The more crit we can stack, the bigger hits we can get, the faster we can clear, and the better we can move. More crit chance. Spellcasting speed. Again, you got to have a little bit of speed so you can take down everything, but you got to be careful because you don't want to be converting rage to willpower all the time. And spell damage. 10% elemental damage. And then we finish it out with 20 plus 20 to toughness. Again, we're stacking toughness because everything that Retaliator gives us, toughness converts into damage for us. So that pretty much covers the tree. Kind of a simple tree. It looks kind of wonky, but it works really well for this tune. And we'll go into our attributes. And like I was saying, we stuck everything in toughness. The reason we stuck everything in toughness is all of this right here. You want as much all-res score as you can get, because Retaliator converts everything in your resistance to damage. I believe it's 3 to 1. For every 3 points of resistance, you get 1 point of damage. I could be mistaken. If I am mistaken, please let me know in the comments, and I'll make a new build that covers that. The ferocity and agility and other stuff that we needed, we gained as we went through the tree, so we didn't really need a whole lot of other stuff. The nice thing about stacking all of the points in toughness is we get a really tanky mage. You can face tank even if you don't want to, but it works out really well. You're still going to end up dying a little bit, but usually it's because you've ran out of willpower and you haven't converted, and you can't attack and you're kind of stuck, so you end up taking more damage than you want. But if you're keeping an eye on your willpower, it runs in place pretty good. I've taken it up to vet 2, so yeah, it works out really well. So we'll show you. Currently, right now, I have average damage of 2273.8, and that's with moderate gear, not really good gear. This gear here, I was trying out on it, but force field stuff doesn't work because, again, we're trying to stack as much resist all as we can because the resist all converts to damage for us under the retaliator. So the main part of this build and the heart of this build is the Zephyron Herald. That's what does everything for us. Want to make sure that you have as high a rage conversion time as you can possibly get. I think 4 is the highest one that I've seen, but I don't currently have one. I have a 3. It helps you convert your rage back to willpower faster. And then Thirst is another must for the build. This helps you with the spell damage and the spell casting speed. But again, I would warn that you need to be kind of careful with spell casting speed, because you will convert your willpower real quick. You'll end up all white lined out in the willpower section, and it'll make it tough to convert it all back to willpower so you can attack the next set of mobs. But I'm going to show you a couple things that will help you get past that once we get done talking about the gear. Another must, at least in my opinion anyway, is O'Malley's Lucky Belt. And the biggest reason I don't care about the magic find, I don't care about none of the other stuff, the 20 to all attributes, because that gives me 20 more to toughness. It gives me more damage. The spell crit is huge. And the rest of it, the dodge helps. You're not taking as much damage because your dodge chance is higher. But yeah, the 20 to all attributes is the big part on that piece of gear. If we go to the skill tree, the skills that I'm currently using, and it's going to look weird, but it's actually a lot of fun. And here in a little bit when we do a little bit of gameplay, you'll see what I'm talking about. The first skill is Thunderbolt or Thunder Strike. Currently we have an average damage of 1157 with that, and I personally use reduced damage lost on each bounce. So basically the Thunder Strike goes out and hits as many targets as it can hit, but as it hits each target, the damage is reduced by the number of targets it hits. So if you take the loss on each bounce, you're actually getting more targets, or more damage across more targets. And increased damage, which also helps you get more damage across more targets. The next one we have is Blade's Edge. I don't have it completely leveled out yet. It's only at 18. But once we're using Blade's Edge, increase area of effect, and axes keep spinning a short time after thrown, because you'll have stuff that runs up behind you. And that helps you, give you a little bit more time to convert rage to willpower for the next set of, and they run into that and end up not being able to attack you. Consuming embers. Big thing you got to do with this one is you got to use converts damage to lightning. If you don't do that, you don't get the skill, and you only get Thunderbolt as a skill. While you're using the Zephyron, you can only use lightning skills anyway, so the only two active skills for damage that you have is Thunderbolt and Consuming Embers. Consuming Embers is a little bit hard to use. You have to be careful with it. It's pretty good for mob kill, but I like using the Thunderbolt better. And then single targeting like on bosses or elites with Consuming Embers. Simply because the Consuming Embers uses a lot more mana than Thunderstrike does. The next skill after that, Wings of Ishmir. Wings of Ishmir is pretty awesome. It does two things for me. It allows me to jump, and it's a way for me to escape. It also allows me to jump into a pack with a stun and get started on doing damage to them before they can do damage to me. It's also a damage attack once you land, which makes it twice as useful. Now the problem with it is, and it's not a great problem because you'll see as we go along, it generates rage and takes away willpower. But as long as you're using Blade's Edge and spamming Blade's Edge, it'll convert back to willpower real quick. So I recently just got this put on here because I'm rebuilding this. I am building this build with like 2 days and not a lot of time, and just fresh came over to the game, so I'm kind of just throwing this together, and you guys can kind of help me out with the rest of it. Increased flight. This allows me to gain or close the gap between what I'm doing. If there's a group up ahead of me and I need to get to them a little bit faster, I can click on them, hit Ishmir's Wings of Ishmir. I can leap into them, do a stun, start doing my Thunderbolt, or I can do my Consuming Embers and attack, and then get out. And while I'm in there, I make sure and hit my Bleeding Edge to convert rage to willpower, and I'm ready for my next set. I can just keep moving through the dungeon, or the adept, or whatever they're called. I can't remember at the moment. But it keeps a pretty good flow if you do it that way. And then the last skill that I use, and simply because you're limited on skills that you can use, I use the hook. Tracker's Reach. Now there are times when you're going to need to pull some stuff into you, and you're going to need to hit your Bleeding Edge, gain some willpower back, and then start doing your Thunderbolt. And it's going to work out well. Basically what you can do is you can use your Wings of Ishmir, jump into the group, use your hook, bring them all in, Thunderbolt and Blade Edge, convert, and then you're moving on, run into the next pack, waiting for the timers to come down. And it works out pretty well. And with the hook, those affected. I don't use pull toward. I want them to come to me, simply because I don't know what's up there around the next bend or whatever, and then I may pull too much, may not be able to handle it. So I pull everything to me. That way I can control the group size that I'm playing with. And that pretty much covers all the skills. That's Thunderbolt and Blade's Edge, Consuming Embers, Wings of Ishmir, and Tracker's Reach. So just to recap real quick, then we'll do a little bit of gameplay. Oh no, we'll go into the gear real quick. So for the gear itself, you want to attack main. You want to try and stack as much all res as you can. Again, all res will stack as damage for us due to Retaliator. And then some agility is good. If you have sockets, you want to put the gems that give you the 20 to toughness, because again, toughness converts to resistance. Resistance converts to damage force. The Retaliator. And it doesn't require a whole lot of gear to get a pretty decent little lightning mage going. Probably not the strongest mage build that you can make, but definitely stronger than the fire. And a close second to the ice. The ice crits a little bit better than what I'm doing, but it only crits better than what I'm doing in the big spells like Ice Spear or the Tear. Tear of Athele is where they get their big crits, and then Ice Spear is the other one where they get their big crit. So it's a pretty good workable build for if you're gonna put together a fast lightning tune and do some farming. Haven't really tested it as far as group. A lot of people are complaining about mages being in group simply because of their ground effect and their overall animation tends to eat up frame rates. I haven't seen that problem in solo play, but I haven't played him in a group play yet, so I'm not 100% sure on that. That you'll have to test out on your own. But let's go ahead and we'll jump in an adept real quick, and you kind of see how the play is. So basically I'm going to jump into the group, Thunderbolt, and then as I'm coming up to the next group, my timer should run out. There we go. We can jump into the next group. And it helps me convert all my rage. Sometimes the timer doesn't go fast enough, so basically what I do is I just come in and let the Thunderbolt right away. But you can see just how tanky it is with all the toughness too. You can pretty well face tank everything. Has pretty good damage to it. Gotta remember to use your Blade's Edge all the time. You're gonna be spamming that quite a bit. Blade's Edge is how you convert your rage back to willpower in this build. Otherwise, you'll end up just stacking rage, and you won't be able to do anything. Like I said, you're going to want to keep a willpower so that you can jump into groups. You can click on your willpower, rebuild your willpower, go straight into your lightning damage, and then convert any rage that you've done using your Blade's Edge. So one of the things that I do as well is I will jump into a group and hook them. Get them close to me. You can also use your the melee strike on this too is actually pretty good as a no shit if you need to use it. You can also hit pretty hard with the embers that are converted to lightning consuming embers. It plays a lot faster just using Thunderbolt, but once you get to learn the build a little bit better, then you can use both. Alright guys, well you've seen a little bit of how it plays. Kind of went over the tree with you. We went over the attributes, and we went over the skills. Do me a huge favor. I expect to be criticized. Well, I shouldn't say criticized. I expect people to find fault in the build, but be constructive about it if you do. Put something in there that will help me make the build better, so I can make it better for the Wolcen community. Don't just put silly stuff in there that doesn't make any sense. Again, this is my first build that I've done, and the first build that I've actually posted on YouTube, so I ask that you be critical but also be constructive. And if you like the video, please hit the like or subscribe, and hopefully this gives you a little something to work on. It does need some improvement. It could use some better gear, and I'm sure that there's probably better ways that we could make it work. If you could put something in the comments, I'll be checking on it to make sure that if there's upgrades that I can do, that I can upgrade it and then make new videos showing the lightning build. But again, this was Old Bones. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure and check me out on twitchtv.com, oldbones67, and thank you so much. Have a good day.